Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. Grab your goat, grab your wand, grab your drink. It is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yep, witches talking about witches in movies. We've got Courtney Buckley, Richard-Lael Lillard. We've got Heather Greene and Jason Mankey, Patti Negri, and you to talk about a covenant. Heather, so I'm just going to hand it right over to you. The Covenant. I can't even think of the year it was, but
2006. Yeah. So I'll give a little bit of an idea of where this fits into the film history of witch films, and basically this is 2006. So this is not did not come out during a witch craze, a witch movie craze. Witch movies were not popular at this time, even though this was made and released during the Harry Potter season. Let's say the Harry Potter films were coming out at this point, as well as the books, super popular, which is one of the reasons this movie was made. There were a lot of witch movies made that were not spin-offs, but inspired by the success of Harry Potter and doing some kind of witch thing. So this happened. This came out during that period of time. It also came out, interestingly enough, just before what I would call is the vampire movie craze. So it came out right before the Twilight series and True Blood and stuff. But the books were already popular. The books had already gained a lot of notoriety. So the whole vampire lore among the teen sector was already extremely popular. So you have this film come out sort of on the heels of the older witch craze, after Charmed was ending, after Buffy the Vampire Slayer was done, after the spin-offs of Blair Witch Project, all of that was over. So this kind of fits in this weird little place where they were trying to capitalize on the concept of the witch, with the vampire-esque aesthetic, or the vampire kind of pre-vampire something, using male witches. I mean, that's what you have here. You have a not True Blood, but you have
Twilight.
Thank you. You have Twilight meets Charmed meets Supernatural. That's meets more or less starring NSYNC. So that's pretty much what you have during this period of time. It's also important to understand, and I'll talk about why we have male witches at this period of time later, but it's also important to understand that this period of time, most witch movies were geared towards teens, 9 to 21, let's say The Expanse. Most of them were. Hollywood had found its teen audience during this period, and a lot of films generally, specifically witch films, were all about teens and geared towards that younger audience. This is obviously no exception to that. So we can leave it at that. I'll talk about male witches and all the goodness with that after and my opinion of the film after someone else has a say. I think Courtney has something she wanted to share before she right? Isn't that what we talked about? Am I wrong?
Listen, I did a thing. And this is going to this is going to be very shocking. So make sure you're sitting down when you're listening to it. I bought dolls, not dolls. I bought real dolls. There they are.
They're horrifying.
Jason? So here's how it happened. I need you guys to psychoanalyze me and tell me, did I make this decision myself, or was I
possessed
into it?
Possessed by the doll spirits. Mm-hmm. Not a doll who needed sisters.
Right. So here's what happened. When I went on my haunted road trip with Gigi from Paranormal XL, she loved Not a Doll and was very upset with me that I would not let her keep Not a Doll. So I had to, I brought Not a Doll home. So she was at Parapsychon at the Ohio State Reformatory last weekend, and she sent me a picture and she said, because I can't have Not a Doll, I got Not a Baby. And it was made by the same person that made mine. And she sent the picture of Not a Baby. And I started weeping like outwardly tears, like weeping, crying out loud that I needed a Not a Baby so bad that I insisted that she leave her booth with me on a video call to show me the Not a Baby booth so that I could pick out my Not a Babies, she could buy them, and I could send her the money, and then she could send me the Not a Babies. So I picked out the first one, which was in the blue dress, because she kind of reminded me of me when I was a baby. Her name is Marion. She died in a runaway buggy accident. And then I caught the tail end of the other one, and I was like, because it's a different kind of so like there's the dolls, and then there's the ghost dolls, and the ghost dolls have little buttons for eyes, and they say like their name, their death date, birth date, death date, and where they haunt. So the one that I got was Rosie, and she haunts dark hallways. And as my friend Alicia, who's in the comments, pointed out to me, my whole house is a dark hallway when the lights are off. So I don't know what I did, but I did that.
Possessed. Definitely
Yeah.
possessed.
Yeah.
Like dolls. What if you call her doll a doll? You're going to have a bigger collection than Heather, a bigger collection than me, a bigger collection than Richard-Lael. And you're buying scary dolls, not like cute dolls. Like,
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Here's exactly why I feel, because I can love a fictitiously scary doll. Those, if you look at them, are like painted to be like horrifying. They're fictitiously scary. I can like that. But when they're real and they look real, they're just things of my nightmares. That's why. I think that's why.
Very Coraline. Very with
Very
the
Coraline.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. But they're big too. They're not baby doll size. They're like toddler human size.
Mhm.
So I can't wait to get them. And I nicknamed them like Sarah did my Not a Babies. So now we'll have Not a Doll, and then we'll have Not a Babies.
And then one more, right?
Yeah, 2 Not a Babies.
Oh, 2 Not a Babies.
I got 2 Not a Babies.
So they're going to
because
have
one
a
is
big name? Can't we have?
Well, there's just like their collective name.
Uh-huh.
Each one, Marion is the little baby one, and Rosie is the ghost. Together, they are the Not a Babies.
Okay.
They're like Muppet Babies, but scary.
Yeah. So I can't wait to get them and then show them all to you, because I don't know. I'm weird, I guess. I don't know. Or possessed, I should say.
All of the above.
How is
next
Not
we'll
a
be-
Doll reacting to the news?
Not at all. Just found out now in this current time, as you are finding out. So we will see if Richard-Lael's painting falls on my head or not.
We're watching her right now, Courtney. We are staring
Yeah.
at Not a Doll, and she only has a small knife in her hand. And she,
Yeah.
so next we'll have to get you a pretty doll and just get past you all of it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had a recent addition to my family too, by the way. So I found online my dear friend Angela Pearl. I had posted this. I was doing a table on the circus, and I found this lovely little handsome fellow right here. And I loved him so much. My friend bought him for me and sent him to me. And I opened the box and I actually laughed out loud because I loved him so much. He's so beautiful. And then I found out he has a brother. They're early 1900s. Sharon Hutt, I think. Humpty Dumpty Circus. They're early 1900s.
They're beautiful. Okay. Courtney, as she's hiding. Now, do those go into the purposely ugly dolls or the purposely pretty dolls?
Look at their smile. Those are clowns. That's a whole different category. Look at their smiles. Ah!
You want a balloon, Richie?
When I first saw the picture of the original one, I thought its face was splattered with blood. That's how I interpreted it.
Kind of looks like it. It kind of looks like blood.
Mm-hmm.
My Not a Baby's face is splattered with blood. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe.
See? She's crying blood tears. Oh, wow. The Rosie is very frightening. Look at her.
Well, it seems like our chat room likes them. So there you go. I think you're going to get a ones up on the. Who is that, Heather?
This is just Felicity. I'm one of the dolls I'm restoring, but I figured we needed to display a doll that was pretty. That was.
But see, American Girl dolls I love because I always used to want one and I could never have one.
She's
But
looking
I
at
don't-
you.
Yeah.
She
don't-
she needs to be sent to you then.
No,
You're-
no.
You're
No.
complicated.
Let me
complicated
just.
Courtney.
I can like her from afar for now,
Mhm.
and then
For
we'll
now.
see. We'll just see what happens. Don't. Can you show your other one, Heather?
My which one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're
Okay.
frozen.
You're which one?
Oh,
And this is who I want to be when I grow up.
can you see me?
No.
She's
No.
frozen. Let it go.
That'll be $10,000 to Disney.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, wait,
Oh, I'm
wait,
back.
wait.
Up there we go.
Yeah.
Yay! See, I like that one.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, she's pretty. She's just an old lady. She just sits on my desk.
She's
I
fabulous.
just.
She's
I want to be
majestic.
her when I grow up.
Yeah, she's majestic. I like that. So there you go.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's go back to movie. Well, congratulations, Courtney,
Yes,
on getting
yes.
through your fears or whatever it is that you're doing. And-
Listen, we'll see how that goes because one of you, it depends on when they get here, whatever happens, one of you guys may be getting a mysterious package from me. And no, Richard-Lael will not be your birthday present I bought you a year ago. It will be, and still haven't sent to you. It'll be the you'll just show up and it'll be the dolls because I'll just have to get rid of them. So
No, I think, Courtney, that you're going to expand your collection and you will have a beautiful doll and a beautiful, pretty one with glass, blinky eyes and little porcelain teeth.
why teeth? No,
And she'll say, Mama,
no.
Mama.
Pretty dolls have pretty teeth. Look at how now I can't
Oh, no.
we're gonna get to the movie. Look at how pretty Belle's teeth are.
Belle has
No.
Very pretty teeth.
She has really pretty. She loves you, Courtney.
Oh no, I don't. Mm-mm.
She has the best teeth. You just want to bite into them.
No, she wants to bite into you.
She's done that.
Oh no. Oh.
so funny.
Okay.
No.
And yet we digress. So
I'm stressed
let's
now.
go on to cute boys, shall we?
Mm.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
The Covenant. I was really, really confused because I thought we were supposed to be watching another movie by the same name, The Covenant 2023, and it has Jake Gyllenhaal. So I thought that was where we were going. And then I realized, no, it's 2006, and we are going to be watching Vampire Witches in Salem or something of the sort, because it's the early 2000s. So that was the film that I thought for a second we were supposed to be watching, but it's not. I will tell you this. You see what I'm wearing today? I'm wearing a lot of hearts because this film was hard on my eyes.
That was hard on something.
Well, I have to tell you that everyone was beautiful, and I did have a heart on my chest.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You know where I'm going.
mm-hmm.
High school. These are what high school is this? Because I did not see one weird, awkward, skinny, overweight, pimply teenager ever. These are what grade are they in? Like the 24th grade? In
Yeah,
high
I think so. I like the quote from Chris Hall there. I'm a huge fan of many of the films you discuss: Rosemary's Baby, Carrie, Witches of Eastwick, The Love Witch, The Wicker Man. But The Covenant, you have to do it's pretty. It's pretty. Okay, go on, Richard-Lael.
Well, it was very pretty. I will say the film is very pretty. I was confused most of the way through it. The acting was certainly Oscar winning, I'm sure. Not quite as bad as the acting in last week's film, but it was definitely not the best. It was sort of early 2000s soap opera. And actually I have a story about early 2000s, late 90s soap operas and witches. I auditioned many years ago for a soap opera called Passions on NBC, or I think it was anyway. NBC Passions. And I had to video it in because I lived in the middle of nowhere. And I loved the show. I loved it religiously. It was so fascinating. And then, of course, I didn't get cast because I was too pretty. And I didn't get cast at the show, but they sent me a consolation prize of a poster of all of the men with their shirts off. And I went, oh, why do you think I'm a gay? I was, but why do you think I'm a gay? But this film, it reminded me a little bit of that soap opera acting, the intrigue, the mystery, it was, and then you find out, he says his father is dead, and then you find out that he's not really dead. He's just gone away and then come back really old. I don't know. It was. My friend Chadwick said that the film was. Let me see if I can find his quote, because it was our friend Chadwick. You know Chad.
Yes.
He sent me this. Where was it? Let me see. He said, it's like this was conceived as a remake of Charmed, but by a drunk executive on the floor of a gay leather bar.
There was a plans for a second one, but it never happened because it was obviously did not do well in the box office.
Because the goddess loves us. That would be why.
I made a covenant. I made a covenant to myself that I would never watch it again, or it's so promise kept.
But it was pretty. That's my only comment. It was just, they did not look like high school boys. No high school boys I went to, even when I was in high school, but dang, it was pretty. The girls were pretty, the boys was pretty, the school was pretty, the forest was pretty.
It's a movie for teenagers.
Yeah. And me. I mean, versus Suspiria, which I know is this highly acclaimed everything, but I watched it on too little of a screen. And on Suspiria, I sat, bad, horrible acting. I can't see anything, again, on the small screen. But this one, I didn't go horrible acting. I just kind of went really nice butt.
Well, there were naked scenes with men,
yes,
which was nice. I have to admit, they were beautiful. What I found to be interesting is, why is she walking around in a towel? I mean,
Yes.
So, fun story about that. It wasn't high school, but I went to college in Salem because I went to Salem State for a semester. And it was a mixed dorm, but the floors were, we had a girls' floor, boys' floor, etc. And I used to walk from the shower to my room, or from my room to the shower, in just a towel in Salem, like they did, but not at high school.
Separate floors.
Yeah, but they didn't stay on their own floors. There was people all around. It didn't matter. It was a towel. It was more covered up than I would have been in a bathing suit.
Right. That didn't bother me. Oh, somebody just said, ask what do I have in Libra? Everything. I'm a Libra. Libra's my sun sign. So thank you, Lisa. So yeah, the school was so interesting looking. Everything they did was interesting looking. Plot lines don't matter sometimes.
Clearly, there is. I found it to be a little okay. There was magic, but it was very CGI magic. It was very early 2000s magic. It was very sort of early 2000s vampire magic. So it was interesting. But what I thought was where it lost me was where he sees the dead kid in the car, and he sort of he's freaked out, he's scared, and then he runs right into this Mack truck that flashed me back to Final Destination. And he runs right into this truck, and the logs are rolling off of it, and this truck driver, poor thing, he's just smashed into this Mustang, and then the kid doesn't have a scratch, and the car comes back together like some Transformers magic.
Well,
they're witches.
Magic. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, they're witches.
They're
suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief. That's all.
Mean, I get it. I do. I mean, clearly, I do. Which truly, I nearly almost ran over a guy on a motorcycle today that I didn't see. And the magic happened that I went, oh, there's a man on a motorcycle. So I didn't steer into him. But it could happen that we could use magic to prevent a car accident, but to actually get in the car accident and then all of the glass gets formed and the car sort of puffs it back out like Christine. I mean, come on.
Didn't they do that in The Craft? Didn't they do that in any good What the Witches Do movies?
Oh, I don't know, but maybe it would be a great auto mechanic shop. I mean, think about it. How much money could you make? You could just twitch your nose or something and then have it all worked out. And then you've got 10 grand. I love it.
I watched this with my wife, and we had to pay $4 to rent the movie, and she was mad at me for that because it really was a waste of $4. But we're watching the movie in the first 20 minutes. Everybody, I couldn't tell if it was a high school or a college because, all the actors look like they're 24, so they don't look like high school kids. And I had to have my wife explain to me that they are supposed to allegedly be in high school just because none of them looked like they were in high school or acted like they were in high school. Like all the school scenes, they're disrupting the teacher, they're bratty, they're going to parties, they seem to be doing whatever. They're in the same shower rooms together, the boys and the girls, which, maybe in a college setting, maybe not be too terrible, but in a high school setting, that seemed pretty unbelievable for me. It's a mess of a film, and Sebastian, it has a great cast. It has a really great cast with great butts, but I feel like Sebastian Stan, Marvel's The Winter Soldier, probably wants to gather up all of the copies of this film and burn them so that they are never seen again. And it's probably why you can't just find it on a streaming service. He's probably spending money to make sure it can't happen.
Let's pay the $4. But look at those pretty swimming scenes. It was just pretty. Everybody talks about Suspiria and how artsy it was. This was just pretty.
Pretty. I would give it that.
I thought it was filmed well. I'll give you that. I thought it looked really cool in a lot of places. I thought it looked nice. I thought the magic looked like a superhero fight where they're throwing force bubbles at each other over and over. And at one point, that just made me start laughing because I just thought it was so ridiculous to sort of look at.
That did go a little long.
Yeah.
It was a Matrix. Fight. It was a Matrix fight scene, very much so.
Yeah. But
can I say something that may shock everyone?
Yeah.
You loved it.
I loved it.
Oh, God.
I knew it. I'm with you, Courtney.
I want to paraphrase Chris Hall in the comments there. I was not a huge fan of many of the films that we've discussed as of late, but I was a big fan of this one. And I am not ashamed to admit that I love Twilight. It's terrible and I love it. And this movie was not a great film, but I love it. And everything from the music to the visuals to I was almost I was so into it that fight scene at the end sort of made me feel like it was a play on them fighting with the elements. It was air and water and fire and all that. That I thought was pretty cool. Maybe I'm reading more into it than was there, but you know what? That's what I got out of it. Stop nodding like that, Jason. But I mean, it was, I couldn't get enough of it. I'm heartbroken, Heather, that you just said that they were going to make a sequel and then they didn't, because my first thought at the end was is there a Covenant 2? I want to keep watching it. I loved it so much. It was so stupid and I loved it so much.
I'm with you, Courtney. I did not.
And I am with you too. I didn't, it's not a great movie. It's not winning any awards. It's certainly not. And it's one of those where I don't mind it. It was well filmed. It had a good cast. It's silly as anything, but it's just one of those. I did not mind it at all. It had a little story. There was definitely problems. He puts his glass back on the last scene in front of all of the fire people and nobody noticed. Oh, there's magic being done here. There's a lot of moments that are like that, but I'm just this was fun. It was a silly little film. When I watched it the first time, I'm what am I watching? But I want to go back to what I was saying earlier. on why I like to talk about this movie.
I did not mind
Okay.
it.
I did not mind it. Yeah, there you go. See? Quotes by me. I did not mind it. So why this is so important when you're looking at witchcraft films, because that's what we're here to talk about, right? Why this film is important in terms of witchcraft films and witchcraft is because rarely do you find movies that focus on boys or men that are witches. Very rarely. Most of the time, magical men appear. Most of the time you have a small smattering. Most of the time, witches are female. And we talk about that all the time. Now, you have a smattering of them here and there. Most of the time, they're called wizards, sorcerers, or warlocks, or something of that sort. You also have coven leaders or Satan himself in witchcraft movies. That's where men usually are. They're rarely alone, and they're usually involved in either a coven or a family or a community. You rarely have them alone. Okay. Some examples would be the coven leaders of the 1970s satanic horror films. Okay, you have that House of Black Death is a perfect example, one of the first where you see that. You have the witches in Bell Book and Candle, who's part of a family, or Bewitched, they're part of a family, or the male witches in Halloween Town or Harry Potter. It's part of a larger community or wizarding world. You rarely ever have them completely alone where you can focus on them. So that's what makes this so interesting. And you also rarely have them alone where they're a coven of boys, teenage boys, very, very much more of a vampire-ish type of story. But what I ask in my book when I talk about this movie is, why doesn't it work? What they've done is taken a narrative, a story that usually involves girls, think Charmed or Sabrina, that usually is about a girl's coming of age story. And they've plopped it into a male coming of age story and put boys in it. Okay. Did it work? Can you do that? Is that why this movie failed? Is because it didn't seem authentic to the concept of witchcraft and what witchcraft is and what we know about this type of story. Remember, they got their power at 13, which is a time where a lot of religions acknowledge the boy becomes a man. That's typical in a lot of religions. And then they ascend at 18, the time where you become an adult. So that's the story. For girls, it's usually age 16. When the girl finds out she has magic, and then she begins. So they took a standard, even using Salem, and all of the lore of Salem, which Courtney probably can talk about a lot more and how that worked. And they took it and they put boys in it. And nobody's ever done that before. So that's why this movie is kind of interesting to talk about, because did it work? I don't know. That's for us to decide. But I didn't mind the movie.
It had good quotes too, guys. Did you?
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Courtney's quotes. Here we go.
Yeah. Listen, there is one of the quotes that I wrote down. I will be getting tattooed on my body. Okay? And it was when he was standing in the barn and he said, "I'm gonna make you my weeach."
Where was that?
When they were in the barn fighting, and he was up in like the rafters, and he's like, "I'm gonna make you my weeach." And
I don't remember that, but
I do remember it.
It was incredible. It took my breath away, honestly, and I thought, I have to get that tattooed. Also in the barn scene when he said, "Are you ready to say uncle?" And he said, "I'm ready for you to go to hell." And I was like, whoa. Okay, cool.
That's genius.
It was so good. But then I screamed out loud, and this is when I realized I had to start writing down quotes again. In the beginning, when they were in the car and they were about to go over the thing, and all their eyes turned black, which I loved that. I loved that their eyes did the things. That was my favorite. But they're about to go over the things, their eyes turn black, and he says, "Harry Potter can kiss my ass." Like, what is this movie? And I love it.
The interesting thing is that at this period of time, you had a lot of these. You had the first time you had the most amount of male witches, because you had all of these community witches, and that was what Harry Potter did for witch movies at this time.
Yeah,
there it is.
Woo-hoo-hoo! I'm smashing the order button. Here, let me scan this QR code. Anybody watching, you can scan that little QR code in the corner. It'll take you right to the witches, to the mysterycontrol.com page. for Witches Movie Coven. I think. Let's find out. Yeah, right on Witches Movie Coven.
That's hysterical.
That's amazing. Ah!
Oh, sorry. Here. There you go. That's where the QR code brings you. And let's see if we can find it. Oh, right there on top. What? Not a boy band? Amazing. You guys work fast.
I want the Heather Greene review on a shirt, though. That's just me.
I don't mind it.
I don't
Yeah.
mind
I don't
it.
mind it. I did not mind it.
No. It's very hard for me to absolutely dislike a film. I think Patti and I have that in common. It's very hard for me to flat out dislike a film. And that's my film historian student thing.
I'm with you. I didn't hate it. It wasn't like I was watching Disney.
I am offended at you for saying that while I'm trying to.
You
can't
knew
even
that was
defend
coming.
Disney. Yeah, but I'm too busy ordering this shirt to defend Disney.
But you know what? I will tell
I'll put
you.
it away.
I will tell you. I loved DuckTales as a kid, and this morning I wake up and the DuckTales theme is running through my head. I don't know why. I
What
haven't
happens?
had DuckTales since 1987.
It's because it's a
Why
great
is
theme.
DuckTales? It's in my head. That's
Speaking of years, can I just say this? I had to rein myself in a little bit because I am not a young woman anymore watching these movies, and I was like, they're in high school, calm down, right? We can't be
right.
we can't
17.
right. But then they showed the kid's ID, and he was born in 1988, and I was born in 1986, so I let the thirst commence at that point. Go for it. They're only 2 years younger than me.
That's
That's
awesome.
perfect.
Yeah, it was great. That's I think a little spark sparked there, and I was like, great, I can enjoy this even more and not feel guilty about it. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. You're the same age. That's funny.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I followed it. I didn't get confused. I like the idea that using the big thing about addicted to it, it's addicting was interesting thing, and how it ages you. And
But that's true, though. I do believe that when magic is very important. Magic, it can be very addictive, and the problem is that if you're not using your magic for good things, then you are inviting those negative things into you, and then it begins to show in your face and your pores and your skin and your nails, and then that's where people begin to lose it, because then they try to retain, and they try to do more and more and more, and it can. Magic has a price. So, and the price is different for everybody, but magic has a price.
And
if you're a hot young Hollywood actor, the price would be aging.
Fair.
Yeah. He was the dad was 44 and he looked like he was 375.
The fingernails on that dad, I was like, somebody get a hedge clipper. I don't know what, but those were gnarly, and I did not enjoy looking at them. No, yours are beautiful. His
Mine are beautiful. They
looked like badger claws that had been aged.
They were really bad. They were really bad claws. His claws were really bad. But I liked when he says, she goes in, the mother, and she says, he's your son. He's your son. You've got to do something. And he says, I will you my power.
I mean, how much power could he have had left? I mean, he looked like he had 20 minutes left to live, right? I mean, I don't expect much of a jolt. It'd be like somebody throwing you a AAA battery or something. Here you go.
Not a AAA battery.
Yeah, this will really help you, son. They're just, maybe if the dad had looked maybe 70 instead of 187, you might have believed that it was a little more helpful.
I will say something. I will tell you this. I don't normally tell my age. So I am of a certain age. I am the same. I'm not quite this. I'm 43. So I will tell you, I know men that went to my high school that look like that man, like the father does. So that wasn't too far-fetched. But I grew up in Hillbilly Junction, so that was just the way that men looked when you were in your 40s. But I guess anyway, enough about that.
I think we need a AAA battery shirt now, Jason.
No, Richard-Lael, I'm older than you. I'm a lot older than you. And I see high school people that look like old people. I'm like, what? So I think witchcraft done right goes opposite.
I think you're right.
Keeps us young. Keeps us young.
I think it does. I think it does for a lot of reasons. And getting in touch and working with the energies, being out in nature. There's a lot of reasons why being involved in witchcraft can keep you looking young, or keeping you look the way you want to look. But I like that moral lesson. They made the moral lesson of magic in this movie very concrete.
Yeah.
Very much so. It wasn't just be careful or what. I mean, you see what happened. And then the other dad too. So was it not Caleb, which Chase's dad also got old, which is the bad guy's dad. And then I guess he sucked his juices and wound up with his AAA battery.
Let's never say sucked his juices again.
That's the vampire aspect of this. That is definitely, there's a vampiric sort of undertone of that sharing of power. So that's how I think of it.
Don't you find it strange that it's only the males, and also coming from Salem, where most, there was one gentleman who was accused of witchcraft, but it was mostly that it was women, and so why are these males?
There was a lot more than one man. Not to jump in, there was a lot more than one male that was accused, and there was more than one that were executed as well. Hold on, I'm getting the exact number because I haven't given a tour in a long time, so bear with me.
I think 25 were killed. If I just was looking up the numbers, I thought 25 were killed.
19 were hanged and one was pressed to death. The other ones died in jail.
Okay.
But of the ones that were, it was higher than you would think. The ones that were, let me see here. Okay, so we have
more weight.
Right, that's the one that everybody thinks of. But we have Reverend George Burroughs, George Jacob Sr., John Proctor, John Willard, Samuel Wardwell, and Giles Corey. So that's six.
Yeah.
So they skipped a family in the Covenant. That's right. How you know it's not a documentary, because there were six families and not five.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that town, I think I just froze again.
No, you're here.
I'm here. Okay. I have this weird blacking out with my screen lately. So, anyway, the interesting thing that I learned about this is and of course, Courtney can speak about all of the Salem history stuff they either bastardized or used well, but the town of Ipswich does exist and is part of the lore of that area. But what's interesting is that John Updike was lived in the town. He lived there at one point. John Updike, and he wrote The Witches of Witch. He wrote and so I'm moving on. I'm going to continue. And he okay, back to what I was saying. So he wrote The Witches of Eastwick, which also was supposed to take place in the town of Ipswich. So the town, that's just just another trivia thing, but the town actually is part of the Salem lore and does find its place in films as well, because Hollywood loves small New England towns, so they're either going to be Salem or Ipswich or another small town in the area. So, but they used a ton of. I love the opening, honestly. If they had omitted the little pictures of the guys, I think that opening was very Game of Thrones-esque before Game of Thrones did it. It was pretty cool, but I think they did a lot. They seem to pull a lot of legitimate stuff from the Salem lore. They seem to. I don't know. No? Corey.
So the family name, I'm just to touch on it a little bit. And I think this is why I was able to enjoy it, because when movies pull a little bit from Salem lore and then they change a lot, like one of my biggest pet peeves as a tour guide was always people coming and asking like the Crucible, how much of the Crucible was real? Well, it wasn't, but you know, like none of it. And you know, so when films when they make these films that are close but not really close, like it's frustrating. This one was so far, they used the same names, some of them, but like that was it, none of it. So they're talking about these 5 witchcraft families, like the Putnams and the Pope family. The Putnams and the Popes were accusers in the witch trials. They were not accused witches, they were accusers. So for them to be the family,
I mean, the lady doth protest too much. So maybe the accusers are accusing other people of witchcraft to hide the fact that they actually were the witches themselves.
But if you delve in, I think this is why, because if you delve into the real history of the witch trials, none of the things, like this was like a land grab. This was like people, they preyed on fears, escalated it to a point of like they could just take people's property and land away from them because they were accused of witchcraft. It could be, Richard-Lael, I didn't like you one day because you looked at me funny, or you showed me your doll for 7 seconds too long. And then I would run down to the sheriff and I would say Richard-Lael is a witch and he sent his specter after me. And, you know, there it is. And then they would come and arrest you. And then I would go into court and I would stand there and I would make the dramatic scene and I would say, oh my God, he's attacking me. And they'd say, witch, done. Give us all his land. And that was it. Like that's all they did. Witch! So, but what they used in court was spectral evidence, right? So literally the only leg that they had to stand on this entire time was people standing there pretending to see specters of these people that they didn't like, or whatever it was. They had a neighborly dispute. They had whatever it was. They stood there and pretended to see the specters, and that was what got them sentenced to this horrific fate, whether it was being in the jails, which were terrible, or being executed. And you know, you see this there's all of these different theories about the witch trials, like the mold in the grain silos, which has been disproven time and time again, but like all of these things. But when you look at the end of the witch trials, the governor's wife is accused of witchcraft, and he decides that is an excellent time to outlaw the use of spectral evidence. And then suddenly the witch trials are no more, because this is the only leg that they have to stand on during this whole court proceeding. I'm sorry, I just went off on a tangent. I remember a lot more
Courtney,
of my tour than I thought I did.
No,
that was great. That was
good
great. Don't apologize.
Yeah. No, what Hollywood does is then the popularity of and the interest in the court in the Salem witch trials, and this shows up in Hollywood. The most Salem movies, the most movies based on Salem was actually during the 1900s and 1910s. Okay, so the beginning of Hollywood, tons of these witch-based films, and so Hollywood quickly captured the lore and anything they can grab to add in, whether the stories were real or not. Most of them were not. In fact, the city of Salem protested a bunch of films that were made around 1910 and 1912 because all the witches they were doing they were burning witches in these movies, and Salem was not having it. So they were like, wait a second.
That's the other thing that makes me want to dig my eyes out, is like, where were the witches burned in Salem? Or where were the witches burned? And I'm like, England, not
England,
here.
yeah, Europe.
Who's England?
Heather, can I interrupt you for just one quick second?
Sure.
Colin said in a comment, after all, how would you recognize witchcraft unless you practice it yourself? And not to go off on another tangent, but this is another one of my favorite points, is the ways that they were, the things that they were doing in the courtroom to prove the existence of these witches. All of those ways were witchcraft. You wouldn't be conjuring spirits or admitting to seeing spirits of any kind unless you wanted to be a witch. Like all of these things that they were doing was, in their definition of it, witchcraft. So it's exactly that. This whole thing, if you really look at it, was insane. And the fact that it still happens today, unfortunately, like when you can look at what happened in 300 years ago, 400 years ago, however long it's been, but I can't math, right? I know this stuff, I don't know math. But you can look at all this stuff that's happened, and it's the most ridiculous thing that how can humans do this to other humans? But they did. And it was for reasons that had nothing to do with witchcraft. It was greed, and it was, you know, what could they get their hands on and who did they not like, and you know, and fear, of course, but they were using that fear, the powers to be were using that fear to monger, and it was just ridiculous. So that is an excellent point, Colin. Thank you for bringing it up, and I'm sorry once again that I've gone on a tangent.
So maybe it's correct. They did use the right names. They used the names of the accusers, who were probably the ones doing witches.
I don't know that there were any actual witches in Salem, and if there were, I don't think they were the ones that got caught.
Right.
Yeah, and getting back to the point is that this movie is a long line of Hollywood's love affair with Salem and the Salem lore, and using it in one way or the other to create a witch movie, which is what you have here. And it's specifically very interesting, again, that it's boys, and that's rarely are, like we said earlier, are these Salem based movies have male witches in them. Male witches are usually a totally different thing.
I will say this movie made me appreciate the craft even more as a film, just because there's no Salem, which is a trope that I find lazy at this point. So you get away from that. The music in this film for 2006 felt like it was 8 years out of time. Like there was just something about it that I felt off from 2006, and the craft like got the music of that era absolutely on point, I would think, for young witches of that time. And I also always disliked the idea of you're born into witchcraft instead of anybody can be a witch and you discover witchcraft. And in the craft, anybody can find witchcraft. And in this movie, again, it's another one where you have to be born into special circumstances, making being a witch difficult.
I'm a little bit on the fence on that one myself. Sorry, Patti, go ahead. But
I go on, and then I'll go after you. Yeah,
because my parents would never have identified as witches, but my father and both my mother and father were definitely, if they would have lived hundreds of years before, would have been called a witch. I remember when we moved, I was 5. My father took us around the property. We bought this property down by the river, which was haunted, but this property, and he took a red cord and he went around the property with olive oil and sea salt all around it, and he did incantations and blessings, and he said the red cord is a promise, and the salt is the preservative, and the olive oil is that richness that brings in new life, and then he would bless it. And when I look back, that is witchcraft. It's what one does in witchcraft. It's not something that any mainstream religion, any mainstream Christian religion would do.
No. See, that's wrong. See, a lot of Christians did that kind of thing. They identified as Christians. They read their Bible. They went to church. If you had called them a witch, they would have been horrified by the accusation. It's just that magic is really prevalent in society, and it's been prevalent for hundreds of years, and it shows up in places that we don't expect. And today we might call that witchcraft, but those people wouldn't have called it witchcraft.
Yeah, I agree. But it's sort of like two different points. I agree with Richard-Lael. I do think it's like blood in the born. I was doing weird spells when I was a little kid. I was knowing what kind of herbs and things and plants to put together and what to do. It was just born in me. I hadn't read any books yet or anything. And my mom would just always go, yeah, grandma did that. Grandma did that. So it doesn't mean they never said that you had to be born into it, just they were born into it. So both could be true, perhaps.
Exactly. Anyone can be a witch. You can learn to witchcraft, but it helps if you were born into it.
Yeah. You get bigger powers. You could put Mack trucks together.
As a reincarnation person, I think I've done this before. So, to me, that's the link. It's something like beyond the soul, beyond like just being hereditary.
But that could be a form of hereditary, just not DNA.
Yeah, maybe.
And this period of time, and I'm always bringing it back to my history of these films, is that during the 2000s, most of the witchcraft films were not learned witchcraft, not ceremonial, not something like The Craft or the 70s movies. They were all hereditary witches. They were all Harry Potter witches. They were all Twitches came out right about after this. So these are all witches that discover their magical powers, similar to Sabrina, and again, who else? Any hereditary witches. Like witches were a different thing. So this is all over the 2000, from 2000 to 2010. You have a ton of those. So this is very common at this period of time.
I love like ventriloquist Heather right now.
Oh, sorry, I'm frozen again. I'm something's wrong with my screen, and I have to get this fixed for next week. This is ridiculous. Sorry.
we can hear you. It's just a still shot of you.
You're frozen.
Well,
It's
okay.
magic in and of itself.
It'll come back. I'm waiting for it to just appear again, so I'll start moving again soon.
On the plus side, you didn't like freeze with your mouth open or something. You know, it could have been a lot worse.
That's good to know. It'll come back at some point. I'm waiting.
All right. Well, I guess it is almost, hopefully Heather will come back because we want to do check-ins we haven't done yet. So let's vote on the Covenant, shall we? All right. And we want you guys, and if you've seen it or think you've seen it and you want to vote anyways, wands up or wands down on the Covenant.
I don't know what Heather is doing, but it's
I'm gonna put. I'm so conflicted because I want to put wand up, because it's just fun.
Heather, I have 3 up.
Oh, you do? Okay, I can't see still, so I'm wands up.
I have a wand up, and I have a femur up, and I have a humerus up.
I'm putting wands up for the fun of it. Yes.
Okay, so Heather's wands up. I'm wands up. Jason wands down. Richard-Lael is loyal. On the audience, we have down, up, neutral, down. So neutral. We're very mixed on this one.
Kelvin, I see you. Thank you for having taste.
Oh, I'm back.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this one a 2. So it's not like a total failure.
I've seen you be more aggressively upset with a movie than this one, Jason.
Yeah, yeah.
That is true, yeah.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it.
Oh, Kathy, there you go. We got another one's up.
Okay. I can't even tell what one. I think it's kind of evenly split between ups, downs, and neutrals. So there you go.
I think the Covenant won, and we all won for having watched it.
I think that it's mostly a wands down film, and
Yeah.
And as Ari said, she said, make sure to ask Courtney for that $4 back. Make her, since she loved it so much. I just got a text. She said, since Courtney loved it so much, have Courtney reimburse our rental fee.
Jason, send me Ari's Venmo, and I will Venmo her $4.
I have one that's worse from this period of time, Jason. If you really want something, if you want to watch it, Courtney, I'll let you know. But it's All Cheerleaders Must Die. So
I love that movie.
It has a witch in it. Just in case you and Ari need something to do, this weekend.
It is a holiday weekend.
Yeah, all cheerleaders must die.
Yeah.
Are there any witches in it?
Yes, there is. There is a witch in it.
Maybe we'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah.
We will see.
Okay. Anyway, well,
thank you, Chris.
Let's everybody check in and see what we're doing. We did it really fast in the beginning. So what you have going on, where people can find you, what's going on. Let's start with Courtney.
That's me. Okay. So I have something that if you guys will all just let me borrow the platform here. I am not really fully a part of it because I'm not the one giving it. But if any of you enjoyed my impassioned speech, all of my tour guides that work for our company are just as impassioned, and we are the only company in Salem who is doing an LGBTQ plus history tour. So we are doing it for Pride Month. This is our second year that we're doing it. I have a little blurb that I can read to you. This sensational seasonal tour that covers the queer history of Salem and all of Boston's North Shore from ancient times to modern day is returning in 2023. So it's going to be on Saturdays and Sundays in June. And you can find the Rainbow Stroll Instagram at rainbow.stroll. It is fantastic. It is a tour that I got to take. It's written by LGBTQ plus people. And I got to take it last year a couple times to preview it and then to, enjoy it with other guests. And I was enraptured. It was fascinating history that I'd never heard about. It was funny, it was sad, it was beautiful. So if you're going to be in Salem and you want to support that, please check it out. Otherwise, you can find me. I am Courtney at the Themes on all the things, all the socials. I play horror games on Twitch. I'm back to playing my horror games now, guys. I've gotten over Velisca. Still sleeping with the lights on, but I'm playing horror games. Or you can find me as Ghostbait on Scared Alone at scaredalone.com. And, you know, with my credit card out at mysterycontrol.com buying all because it's ridiculous. So that's me.
Thank you. Willow wants Richard-Lael to go next.
Well, I am Richard-Lael Lillard, or the Gentleman Psychic, where all gentleman psychics are sold. I'm going to be in Atlanta in September.
What?
Yes, I'll be there. My friend Constantine and I are throwing a party in Atlanta, and it's going to be a sort of a dark 1920s theme. And we'll do burlesque, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be the 2nd of September. I'll have more information, but 2nd of September. And then I will be in Youngstown, Ohio, the 26th through the 30th of October. And then, of course, I'm here in New York, and you can find me there. And I'm everywhere like Satan Claus.
Thank you. Heather.
I am currently looking up the year of the All Cheerleaders Die movie for somebody. So it is 2013. So that is the correct year for that movie. It's not a great movie, so just letting you know, whoever that was, Lisa. Anyway, where am I? I'm at heathergreene.net. That's where I'm working on my website right now and updating some things. So you'll be able to find some newer links, and that's where I put my socials are there and all the things that I do on the side for fun. You can find me Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the things. They have different names, so it's easier. Just go to my website and you can find it there. I am working board member of Mystic South conference, which is coming up here in July in Atlanta. So come on out, and we've got 3 days worth of witchy and spiritual and all kinds of fun classes. So I'll be there at that, presenting and helping to run the thing. And what else am I doing? Oh, you can check out, of course, my website to see what news articles. I am a journalist as well, covering witchy stuff and the occult. So you can find out what articles by going to my website. I always post them there. And of course, my book, which is up on the screen. So you can always find my comments, like the ones that were quoted tonight in my book. Like, I didn't mind it. Might actually be in there, actually. I don't know. I think it's some of my reviews and my discussions are there. And I guess that's it for now. Okay. And I can't wait to meet Richard-Lael in person in September.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, Jason.
In 2 weeks, I'll be in Orlando at Summer Magic Fest, which is an indoor festival running Thursday through Sunday. And I'll be at the Starwood Festival in Southern Ohio in July. It's the same time as Mystic South, which is a shame. And Mystic South, I've been to many times, and it's a really great festival. And this weekend on Sunday, I'm so excited. I get to see Duran Duran for the first time in my life, and I'm so thrilled. So if you're in San Jose and you see me, yell at me. I'm going to be hungry like a wolf.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That would be fun. Okay. Thank you. I am Patti Negri. I want to answer Robert Hicks. Yes, the Dark Goddess class for tonight has been postponed till next week because Sebastian's playing, and he's on a plane to Germany right now, and he can't teach class, or we can't teach a class. And I have to pack because I'm leaving for Dallas. So where I am this whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, starting tomorrow, actually, I'm going to be at Miracles of Joy in Louisville, Texas, teaching different workshops, doing seances, private sessions. It's a great little shop in suburban Dallas. It's great. Next week, I will be in Ventura at Pacific Coast Paracon. Sorry, my friend Stefan Brigatti, great paranormal investigator, this great old haunted theater from the 1930s. And the next week after that, I'll be in Vegas, actually we just threw it together at the Halloween Emporium and Haunted Tea Room. Again, doing 2 different seances, private sessions, teaching workshops. So Witchy Weekends 3 in a row. So lots of fun people coming to Ventura. PattiNegri.com. You can get to all my socials, Patti Negri Psychic Medium. The real ones are there. And don't forget to go to mysterycontrol.com and get this fine merch that Courtney was talking about. You can get my brand new Patti's Power Panties, magic, a spell in every pair, change your underwear, change your life. I've been doing it for decades, and now you can do it too. Patti's Spellcaster. Of course, we've got the Witches Movie Coven merch. We've got Scared and Alone merch. And so let's all match, because I love that. Just like the high school kids. And
you can see all that on our OnlyFans. And
I must say, I am hearing back from the People's Power Panties work. It's a simple spell, but it's about the color and the sigil and the words and the intent.
I'll tell you, I have some, and I wore them. I told you this, I think. I wore them to a big meeting, and it worked. I wore the witch ones. And then I also, because of that, I ordered probably immediately after Velisca, I think in the same order that I ordered my Velisca Axham shirt, I also ordered the protection panties so that in case I ever go anywhere again, I can have them on.
Yeah, they work. I just got a new pair. So anyway, so that's it. We're over time, so we have one more thing to do. We want to thank everybody out there. We're listening to everything you're writing out there. And what do witches do? 1, 2, 3.